Srimad Bhagavatam Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvashaya Srinivadi Mahasasare Shasarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radha Srivasti Gaurava Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bring Krishna Bhagavatam chapter 1 verse 3. Avatirayado Vamse Avatirayado Vamse Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Khani No Vada Vistara Khani No Vada Vistara Avatirayado Vamse Avatirayado Vamse Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Khani No Vada Vistara Khani No Vada Vistara Avatirayado Vamse Avatirayado Vamse Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Khani No Vada Vistara Khani No Vada Vistara Avatirayado Vamse Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Khani No Vada Vistara Avatirayado Vamse Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Khani No Vada Vistara Avatirayado Vamse Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavana Kritavan Yani Vishvatma Khani No Vada Vistara. After descending, Yadu Vamse, dynasty of Yadu, Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of God, Bhuta Bhavana, who is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, Kritavan, executed, beyond, whatever, Vishvatma, super soul, Ani, all of those, unto us, finally say, Vistara, elaborately. Translation: the super soul, the supreme personality of God and Sri Krishna, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, appeared in the dynasty of Yadu. Please tell me elaborately about his glorious activities and character from the beginning to the end of his life. Purport in this verse of words, Kritavan, Yani, indicated all the different activities Krishna performed while present on earth are beneficial to human society if religionists, philosophers, and people in general seem to cue the activities of Krishna, they will be liberated. He has described several times that there are two kinds of Krishna Bhakta, who are represented by Bhagavad Gita spoken personally by Krishna Bhattacharya, and Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by Sukadeva Goswami about the glories of Krishna. Anyone who becomes even slightly interested in Krishna Bhakta is liberated. Kirtana eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param prajat. Simply by chanting or repeating Krishna Bhakta, one is liberated from the contamination of Kali Yuga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is therefore advised Ajarya Dekho Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. This is the mission of Krishna consciousness, to hear about Krishna and thus be liberated from material bondage. Translation: the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, appeared in the dynasty of Yadu. Please tell me elaborately about his glorious activities and character from the beginning to the end of his life. So, this is simply the request to Sukadeva Goswami to tell in detail all the activities that Krishna performed while he was present on the earth. And of course, by hearing about these activities, then Parikshit expects to get great benefit. So here, the Supreme Lord appears in the other dynasty. That's the description. He is called Bhagavan. And Bhuta Bhava, cause of the cosmic manifestation, or cause of all the living entities, etc. And he's also called Vishvatma. That means the Atma within the universe, which literally we could say means Paramatma, or Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, which is within the universe, or Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, which is each living entity within the universe. So he's the soul of the universe in that sense, or the soul of all the universes, that is Mahavishnu. So all of them are called Paramatma forms. So we have the Supreme Lord here addresses Bhagavan and as Paramatma, because Bhuta Bhavana also means the cause of all the living entities. So this again refers to Mahavishnu or Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, etc. So we have two aspects of the Lord mentioned here, as the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the material worlds, and as Bhagavan, that is, the person who performs wonderful activities with his devotees and establishes a relationship with them so that they experience bliss. So, of the two, of course, we prefer that form is Bhagavan because one develops a great rasa with that form of the Lord. Paramatma is a functional form, and we do not hear about his personal activities so much. Of course, they're there, but they're not revealed so much to the people on the earth. So he has, Mahavishnu, for instance, has his loka up there in the cosmic ocean. And Garbhodakshaya Vishnu or Kshirodakshaya Vishnu have their abodes. There's in the milk ocean behind, but there is Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And he has his abode there with his palace, and Lakshmi and his servants, etc. So obviously there is pastimes. But we don't hear much about those pastimes, those devotees. And similarly, the people who worship these forms of Paramatma are worshiping them as the creators of the universe, the witnesses of the universe, more than a relationship. So at best we can say there's a type of very weak dasya or shantarasa involved here, mixture too. So they worship them because they know they are supreme. Whereas with the forms of Bhagavan, there is an intention to serve the Lord and establish a personal relationship with the Lord. So then that same form of Paramatma can become Bhagavan in Vaikuntha. So in this way the Supreme Lord is here described as Bhagavan and as Paramatma. So previously, the aspects of Paramatma were already described. That is, in the second canto, third canto, fourth canto, etc. There's descriptions of how Mahavishnu glances and how Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into the universe, and Brahma springs from his lotus in his navel, and Brahma creates the material worlds, etc. The description of the Paramatma feature has already been described in quite some detail. Whereas the form of Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, has not been described. The other forms of Bhagavan have been described. So we have a description of Ramchandra in the 9th canto, Matsya in the 8th canto, etc. Other forms of Srimad in the 7th canto. So we have all sorts of forms described in there. Pastimes also are described. These are forms of Bhagavan. So when we see Bhagavan here, the particular form of Bhagavan is qualified here by that form who appeared in the Yadu dynasty. So that form of Bhagavan refers to Krishna. So he's requesting to hear about Krishna, not the other forms of Bhagavan. So in other words, the interest of Parikshit Maharaj is to hear about Swayam Bhagavan, that special form of the Lord, and to hear about him in great detail. The other forms are being described, but not in detail. So we have a description of Varaha, so he lifts up the earth, etc., fights with Hiranyaksha, or description of Sharmadev. The only description there we see is he fights with Hiranyakasipu. That's about all the pastime we see. Or Matsya carries Satyavrata, etc. So not great detail in general they're described. Ramchandra's events here are described in summary, and we get more detail in Ramayana. So they haven't been described in great detail in summary. But Parikshit has said, you describe in great detail the activities of Krishna, because this is the form of Swayam Bhagavan. This is the very, very special form of the Lord. Yeah? So, therefore, he makes a distinction from the other forms. Why he calls him Parama, Vishwatma, and Bhutabhavana, which are more general names of Paramatma. One reason, of course, is because this form of Krishna contains all of the other forms. We know that Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman are one. Advaya again. They're actually one form. They're inseparable. Okay? So Paramatma is also inseparable from Krishna. Okay? So the functions of Paramatma are also within Krishna. So of course they're all forms of Bhagavan, but because Krishna is the ultimate form, then they were also within Krishna. So people worship the Paramatma forms because they appreciate the greatness of the Lord as the creator of the material world. This, of course, is a rather relative concept because the only reason we're interested in creation is because we're inside the creation, and then we're asking, well, how did the world get created? We say the Lord created it. So it's a relative type of greatness from our point of view when we wonder about who created the material world. Well, actually, it's nothing. We see that Mahavishnu sleeps while the creation goes on. He breathes out, and all the universes come up. He breathes in, they all disappear. So it's actually insignificant for the Lord. But we're very interested in how did this material world get created, and why it is so complex, and how the Lord operates within the material world, etc. So, from our point of view, then we can say, no, this is something great that the Lord creates the material world. Something in His power. But actually it's nothing. It's a small aspect of His power. It's like this amsa, one small amsa, one ray of His power that does everything in the material world. So actually it's nothing for the Supreme Lord. But people first appreciate the greatness of God. And that greatness is expressed in creation. He creates the material world. So that's how actually why we have these descriptions of Paramatma, future Mahavishnu, set to create the material world in the second, third, and fourth cantos of the Bhagavatam. To show that aspect because people are interested in it. And similarly, we'll find around the world in other religions, this is one of the main qualities of God. He creates the material world. So the Bible starts with this. Creation of the material world, the universe, by the Supreme Lord. So anyway, this establishes the position of the Lord. He is greater than anyone in the material universe because He creates it, so He must be greater than it. So that establishes the position of the Supreme Lord. But the Supreme Lord does many things. And to do those many things, He has many forms, even though He is one. So to carry out the creation, we call that the Paramatma form of the Lord who does that. Same form exists in Vaikuntha, form of Vishnu. He's also there. Same form, actually. But when He limits His activities to
predominates his activities with creation, maintenance, destruction of the material world, then we call him Paramatma. He's the same form of the spiritual world. But in the spiritual world, we call him Bhagavan, because he is not doing anything with creation at all. He's simply having pastimes with Lakshmi, the other Shaktis, and the devotees. So therefore the Paramatma feature is actually included within Bhagavan. In Krishna, of course, this aspect is shown in a more remarkable way. Because Krishna, by his nature, you can say, suppresses the powerful aspect in favor of the sweetness aspect, especially in Vrindavan. Yeah? Now, of course, when you go to Dwarka and other places, yes, Krishna displays more powers, he displays universal form so many times, etc. So, yes, a little more free in other places. Still, even Mathura and Dwarka are sweeter in rasa than the other than the other forms of the Supreme Lord. But in Vrindavan particularly, the greatness aspect is even more suppressed because there nobody accepts Krishna as Supreme Lord. So that there's no reason for him to display universal form or his aspects of Paramatma, etc. But because he is the Supreme Form, all of this should be within him. And therefore, Krishna demonstrates this. It is very difficult, we would say impossible in one sense, because he's very sweet in Vrindavan, and he's a small child, so how can he do it? But Krishna is inconceivable. And he does it in such a way that still the sweetness is maintained, though it looks impossible. So, though Krishna's, the emphasis in Vrindavan is upon pure sweetness of Krishna in his cowherd boy form, simultaneously, he also shows the greatest power more than anyone else. It seems impossible that can be because it's suppressed, but he can do so. So therefore, he does this with Mother Yasoda. He shows within his body the whole universe. So this is in essence the Vishwarupa. Just as he showed to Arjuna. So he does this within not an adult form, within a baby form. So this is more remarkable because the baby form is sitting in Mother Yasoda's lap. And then she looks in his mouth and then she sees the whole universe. And Mother Yasoda doesn't expect, and she doesn't request to see this form as Arjuna expected to request to see that form. She doesn't expect that form. And suddenly that form appears, and what happens? She covers it up. She forgets about it. This is some illusion, maybe, that's all. And she forgets about it. Nothing to do with Krishna. Caused by somebody else. So he reveals in a more remarkable way that universal form, very spontaneously into that baby form inside his body, and simultaneously Mother Yasoda can see Krishna sitting on her lap, and simultaneously you can see the whole universe, and she can see herself within the universe also with Krishna on her lap. So Krishna can display the universal form in an even more remarkable way than he displayed it to Arjuna. So when Arjuna saw the form, then he was convinced, yes, you are the Supreme Lord. When Mother Yasoda saw the form, she rejected it. And nothing to do with Krishna, some illusion. And then she called the Brahmanas to protect Krishna because some disturbance was there. So, of course, this shows the great, intense prema of Mother Yasoda, such that when she sees something contrary to Krishna as her son, then she never accepts that as the greatness of Krishna, as something else. Because the idea that Krishna is her son should never be disturbed. She never lets that get disturbed. So it is the prema of Mother Yasoda which prevents any interruption of her realization of Krishna as her son. So therefore, her prema is considered very exalted, much more than Arjuna's prema. And when he saw that universal form, he said, "Oh, you are the Supreme Lord, and I regret that I acted as casually with you as a friend." And Mother Yasoda never thought that. So, anyway, Krishna can reveal the greatness of the Paramatma form within himself in Vrindavan also, in spite of the fact that it gets covered up. So, in this case, it is covered by the intense prema of Mother Yasoda. And it functions, that display functions to display the intensity of her prema. Because of that intensity, she forgets that, seeing that form of the Lord. So in this way, we have a glorification of Mother Yasoda there. But simultaneously, Krishna did show power in Vrindavan. And he showed it when he was a little boy, and he showed it within himself. And simultaneously, he was sitting on Mother Yasoda's lap. So this is even a greater display of power than he showed to Arjuna. So, therefore, that Paramatma feature is there within Krishna himself, and he displayed that. Similarly, he displayed the form of Paramatma to Brahma, and the Brahma Mohana Lila. So there he showed not one form, but uncountable forms, because there were billions of cows and billions of cowherd boys. And each of those calves and cowherd boys manifested as Vishnu forms who were creators of material worlds. So there again, we get not one form of Paramatma, but we get infinite forms of Paramatma manifesting from the cowherd boys. Instantaneously. And then disappearing again. And suddenly Krishna was there as a small cowherd boy, less than 5 years old. With some food in his hand, some curd rice in his hand. So again, a very remarkable manifestation of Paramatma within Vrindavan. This was revealed not to the Brajavasis, but to Brahma. So nobody else saw that. Brahma was able to see that. But it was in Vrindavan itself. And within that small child form again. So this again is a remarkable display of the powers of Krishna, even in his sweet form. So, though the Lord creating material worlds is a general quality of Supreme Lord, which separates them from the forms of Shiva and Brahma and Jivas, there's 5 extra qualities. 55 for Shiva and 60 for Vishnu. So one of the qualities of Vishnu is, he creates the material worlds, they arise from him. The pores in his breathing or whatever. But Krishna displays a more remarkable aspect of this in his pastimes in Vrindavan itself, within the sweetness, etc. So therefore, though Krishna displays the ultimate sweetness in the dove, he also shows the ultimate power of all the forms of God, including the Paramatma forms. So therefore, there's nothing wrong with addressing Krishna as Vishvatma, or the witness of the universe, Paramatma, Buddha Bhavana, etc. Because he does that also, he can display that at will to his associates in Vrindavan or Goraka or wherever, or to Arjuna, etc. in a very remarkable way. So, Parikshit is interested in all of these pastimes of Krishna, and Prabhupada says in detail means from the very beginning to the disappearance of Krishna, all the different pastimes. So these are discussed in the 10th canto, mainly in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, and a little bit later also 11th canto, etc. But anyway, the pastimes are described in great detail, much more than the other forms are described in other parts of the Bhagavatam. And because of this great detailed description, the pastimes of Krishna become very, very famous. It's mainly because of this. The description of Sukadeva Goswami is so sweet that people are attracted to this. So why are people attracted to the pastimes of Krishna? It's because the pastimes are described here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the main source of the sweet pastimes of Krishna. And of course, the pastimes are described in the Brahma Purana, and some pastimes in the Mahabharata or Vishnu Purana. But the extensive descriptions with great sweetness are here in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. So because of that, people have become attracted to Krishna, and therefore they become inspired to write other works or to depict it in songs or dance, etc. because of Bhagavatam. So therefore the 10th canto of Bhagavatam is considered to be very remarkable. It depicts in a very skillful manner through the words of Sukadeva the sweetness of all of Krishna's pastimes. And hearing these pastimes, everybody gets benefit. So therefore, the devotees hear the pastimes of Krishna, and then they can deliver those pastimes to other people. And that's what constitutes preaching. So Prabhupada here quotes the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You speak about Krishna to whomever you see. Jaya Deko, Narikava Krishna Upadesh. So what is the Krishna Upadesh? Of course, there's two aspects. The teachings of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and the pastimes of Krishna that we see in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. Two are actually inseparable because ultimately the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's teaching is to worship Krishna. But immediately we will ask, well, who is Krishna? If we're supposed to worship him, then we have to know who he is. So that description is given in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. Form, qualities, and activities of Krishna are described in detail. So this is Krishna teaching about Krishna. The teachings of Krishna and teaching about Krishna. So the teachings about Krishna are here in the Bhagavatam. Of course, teachings of Krishna are also in the Bhagavatam, particularly in the 11th canto. There, Krishna teaches Uddhava, and he covers all the topics of the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Sangha Yoga, Bhakti Yoga again. So, very similar. So within the Bhagavatam itself, we have teachings of Krishna, and we also have the teachings about Krishna. Both of these are in Bhagavatam. So in this way, the Bhagavatam actually is complete.
When one is in a Brahman stage, one cannot recognize the Supreme Lord and Supreme Lord. It takes according to his relationship. Correct? When one reaches the stage of Prema, that time one recognizes the Supreme Lord according to his relationship. But here see, Arjuna also in the Prema level, and Mother Yashoda also in the Prema level. Mother Yashoda was not recognizing Krishna as the Supreme Lord, as a son. But Arjuna is recognizing here Krishna as a Supreme Lord. So this understanding, because normally Arjuna also is in Prema, but why he is recognizing as Supreme Lord?
Because his prema is mixed with Aishvarya. All the people outside of Vrindavan realized that Krishna was born to Vasudeva and Devaki, and he was actually the Supreme Lord. And he actually appeared as a Vishnu form. And everybody knows that. So all the Yadus know that, okay, actually the Lord came as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. And he's actually the Supreme Lord. And of course he becomes the king of Dwarka, etc. So they do not in any way ever forget that. Still, there is also some sweetness in the relationship. So just as in Vrindavan, we have Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. So we have that in Mathura and Dwarka also. So that sweetness is there, which is not there in most of the other forms of the Lord, Dasya. And there is, because Krishna's form never ages beyond the Kaishwar age, even if he's dressed like a king in Dwarka, still he's got that sweetness in his form, which is Madhurya. But it's a little covered because he's like a king, you know, his palaces, etc. So there's a mixture of Aishvarya along with the Madhurya in those places, Mathura and Dwarka. So because of that, Arjuna is considered one of the best friends of Arjuna along with Uddhava. So Arjuna sees him as a friend, but it is not difficult for him to also see him as Supreme Lord. So seeing the universal form is just a reminder, yes, he's Supreme Lord. And he regrets his aspect of treating him as a friend because of that. In Vrindavan, there's no aspect of Krishna as Supreme Lord.
But he's maintaining some distance. When someone recognizes Krishna as a Supreme Lord, he maintains some distance. Oh, he's Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
But Vrindavan.
So the prema is weaker.
Yeah.
So that's why the prema in Dwarka is inferior to the prema in Vrindavan. So the prema of Vatsalya of Vasudeva Devaki is inferior to the prema of Nanda and Yashoda.
But Arjuna is a secure, right? Secure means as friendship.
Yeah.
But we didn't hear anything about Arjuna is participating in the Vrindavan pastime. We didn't hear anything about Arjuna participating in the Vrindavan pastime like a person.
No.
So he will be always like Aishwarya Baba. Arjuna. He will be always Aishwarya Baba. It's Arjuna in that friendship.
Well, it's mixed. It's mixed. It's not the same Aishvarya that we see in Vaikuntha, where everybody is relegated to Dasya.
Yeah.
Sakya by nature means equal.
Yeah.
So therefore, if it's equal, there has to be some sweetness there. And because the form of object of love is Krishna, who is in his Kaishwar form, that automatically evokes some intimacy also, even though he is mixed with the Aishwarya aspect. So therefore, it's superior to any other forms in the world that may display Sakya also.
Krishna can exhibit one or more rasas with single individual. Krishna can exhibit one or more rasas with one individual.
The same individual he
Same
can
individual,
exhibit different
types of
processes.
rasas.
Well, there can be a mixture of rasas. So there may be a prominence of Sakya rasa with a little Vatsalya rasa. As Balaram has with Krishna, because he's older, so he has a little Vatsalya rasa mixed into it. So there may be mixtures of rasa, and sometimes the prominent one is there usually, and sometimes the secondary rasa will also manifest. When the secondary staya bhava, the extra staya bhava will manifest.
It is still, sorry, this Arjuna also has the same, this Sakya rasa mixed with Daisya rasa.
No, that's the younger brothers.
But the Yudhishthira Maharaj.
No, that's Vatsalya, sure.
It is, but I'm saying that for Arjuna also sometimes he also think I'm the servant.
Sakya. Well, generally it's Sakya.
And Sakya mixed with Daisya.
Maybe a little, but more for the younger brothers.
Younger.
Normally the Dasya doesn't go with Virya Rasana. Normally the Dasya doesn't go with the Virya because they're opposite. Dasya. Then in the case of Jaya Vijaya, how come in spite of being in Dasya Rasa they are having the desire, maybe the desire to please, is it right like that?
Well, though one is a servant of the Lord, one can appreciate Virya Rasa, definitely.
Guru Maharaj, the same Vishwarupa shown by Lord to different persons at different times, these different results. though it may not be based on the relationship at all. For example, Vishwaramaya had a darshan of Vishwarupa, but the result was entirely different, and the
Yeah,
view of the
because-
Vishwarupa was also very different.
Yeah, because her prema was there.
But it was fearful for Arjuna, but she never had any sort of feeling on that Vishwarupa itself.
Well, immediately she did. She felt a great worry, and she began to pray, and then she forgot the whole thing, and then she simply called Brahmins to protect Krishna. That's all.
Maharaj, is it Madhurya Rasa into this earth the first time through Shyamananda Prabhu? Shyamananda, they say that Lalita directly initiated for Madhurya Rasa to Shyamananda.
Shamananda.
Isn't that Lalita Devi directly initiated to
Lalita.
Shyamananda with Madhurya
Was it
Rasa?
Lalita or Radha?
Radha's sister
Radha,
with
not
Lalita.
Lalita. Yeah, Radha
It's
gave.
the anklet or something,
Yes.
placed it on his forehead. Whether you call that initiation or not, I don't know whether they call mantra, but the inspiration was there, I suppose. Then from that he changed his Rashi from Sakya to Madhurya.
Is it that it came first time or?
First time.
Was that the first time Madhurya Rasa was introduced? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Obviously, Lord Chaitanya was experiencing and displaying it and showing it to others. Goswamis also, so many other people before Shamananda. He was second generation.
Some said that they know that Shyamananda, we go to the Vrindavan, this Shyam Sundar temple, they said that Shyamananda is something like in connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they say, some partial something like that, they say. Is it something like that? Or someone said that even the Srinivas Murli is some partial expansion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
I think what is Narottam, Shamananda, and Srinivas are considered to be Lord Chaitanya, Advaita, and Nityananda, or something like that. I don't know which is which, but something like that.
There's some contradiction is going on there. Some contradiction with someone said this Srinivasa Acharya is some partially incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone said this Shyamananda Prabhu is a partial incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is authorized?
All these things are maybe opinions that different acharyas have said later on. Maybe in Chaitanya Mangala or something they stated that. I'm not sure.
Karantara